How is it going, ladies and gentlemen? Klutzy Joe coming at you with yet another review. And this time we're actually looking at the Mafex Armored Batman. Now, for those of you Mafex enthusiasts, this is actually Mafex number 23. Now, this figure is actually pretty cool, and let's just look at the box and everything. I mean, before we actually start. It does, as you can see, there is a clear plastic right on the front. We do want to get the whole Batman logo along with the Mafex and the number 23, which is actually pretty cool. And you get the Batman little design right here that is basically telling you that it's armored Batman. Yes, again, number 23. It does let you know the number 23 all over the place, so it's actually pretty cool. You get the production stills, more or less. Well, no, not production stills, like promo stills right here out of Batman, and it's actually showing you that it's coming on over with like this more heavy-duty grapnel gun. And right here, you actually get to see that again. Mafex Armored Batman. And right here, all this legal jargon that I will never understand. So before I actually crack this thing open, I do want to end up giving a shout out to my little brother, Alexis. He made this review possible by letting me review this thing. I originally ordered it for myself, but then after that I figured, you know what, my little brother actually deserves a figure out of a collection. So I got it, and so I basically gave him this one. And he actually loved it. So anyways, let's crack this thing open and see what is it that we get. Okay, so for accessories, you really get to see that he doesn't come with a lot. But with what he comes with, it's actually pretty good, especially for this figure. So you do get these fists. And I gotta tell you, these actually already come on the figure, so that's what's actually pretty cool. And the pair of fists, they both end up having the same level of design, detailing. You get to see that there is a black wash onto the metal, and it's actually real nice. You also get to see that there are metal plates on the knuckles, so that's another cool part. All the way on over to the knuckles of the thumb, which is actually even more cool. I'm a bit disappointed because we didn't get to see the detail inside of the glove right here. But nevertheless, it's actually pretty good. And looking on down, you're doing to getting to see that they did ended up making a little design right here. And it does go with all the hands. But I don't think that anybody has actually gotten to see the detailing out of that in the movie because, well, no, who could be paying attention to that? Anyway, so we got the pair of fisted hands. And we're doing getting a pair of the grapnel holding hands, which is actually another good one. Again, you get to see that the black wash is actually present right here, along with the on over to the metal parts right here, on all the metal coverings. And looking on in, you don't get to see that much of detailing inside of the gloves. But either way, I mean, who would actually care? Nobody, I don't think that anybody got a chance to look inside of the gloves on the movie, so that really doesn't necessarily matter. What matters is the things on the top. And now we actually get the Catwoman McGrabby hands, as Charlamagne has actually stated before in the past. And these open fists are actually real nice. Now you get to see that the hands are actually more girthy. They're more thicker. The fingers are actually a lot more thicker, so it does end up showing that they are padded like crazy. But again, we get to see the black wash on these, and this is actually pretty cool. So, that level of design, yeah, I mean that level of detailing is on all of them. I'm sorry for the watch. Sorry for the notification sound, anyways. And you do also end up getting this high capacity grapnel gun. This is the one that he uses when he's basically I want to say gliding down. I forgot exactly what is it they say, but he's using the grapnel gun to actually descend on over to a beaten down Superman. And it's real nice. You get to see that the you get to see that the detailing of the model detailing is actually right there. But the paint job, I don't know. I mean, it does look good, but I really would have preferred if they would have given it more of a black wash, kind of like they did with the gloves. That's the one thing that would have. That's the one gripe that I could actually have about this thing, but that's just very minor. I mean, who could complain about that? Also, we ended up getting this one. We also ended up getting this one, the usual Mafex flight stand claw. The claw is actually real nice. Right here, all of these are actually little cross bolts, so that you could actually tighten them up. And they do their job real well. This little part actually comes off and it comes back on. You're able to move it from one side to another, and just by putting it together, you could actually peg it onto a little hole right here. And there it is. So that actually works, and very sturdy, very nice, and I totally love this thing. Anyways, enough of these guys, enough of all this stuff. Let's take a look at the big man himself, the Batman. Do you bleed? You will. It's actually kind of crap, but anyway, that was a horrible, that was a horrible bat flick. Anyway, so as you get to see, the detailing is actually real nice. You get to see that the armor is actually battle damaged. You get to see that there are some scrapes and from here and there, but it's actually real nice, to tell you the truth. The one thing that the camera is not picking up is that on the inside of this thing, it ends up having a pearly blue kind of paint job inside. Very, very light, because you do get to see more white. And if you take pictures of it, I mean, the white actually stands out a lot. It kind of makes it look like if it's even lighting up. So that's what's actually pretty cool about this thing. And I gotta tell you again, the detailing, the mold, everything is just beautiful. I mean, just looking at this thing, it's just awesome. Of course, we're actually gonna look at the lower half as well, but just looking at this figure, you know, based out of one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. I know that people don't necessarily like it, but nevertheless, I mean, given the fact that Batman and Superman are finally seen on the big screen, that's all that matters. So anyways, enough of that. Let's look at the articulation right here. So, as you can very well, as you can very well see, he's actually able to look up about that much because of the chest articulation right here. He's actually, you're able to move it up a little bit more, so he could actually just be looking at Superman if you actually do end up having a Superman figure. He's able to look down about that much, so that's actually pretty cool. He's able to open up his arms about that much. I wish that they would have actually had, they kind of have a butterfly joint right here. So that's what's actually kind of cool. He ends up having a swivel right here at the upper part of the bicep. He does have double jointed elbows. And his hands, as you were able to see, they're actually removable just by the peg like that. You're able to peg it out, peg it back in. And this thing is actually by a hinge, but the hinge is actually connected to a little peg on the inside, so it gives you a full range of motion. Here we go. He is able to move on over to the sides like that. And based on the design of this thing, the lower abdomen along with this one will actually move together, but it's still pretty good. I mean, it's giving you a full range of motion, so that's what's actually awesome. Anyways, putting him back on up, you will notice that the belt is actually floating, and that's actually good, because if we were to take this thing off, you will see that all that gappage is just a little too much. So anyways, we get that belt. Right here, I really wish that it would have actually had a thigh swivel, but he doesn't. At the very top right here of the, right around the crotch area, he does end up having a little articulation so that all his leg actually can go in and out. His 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 leg joints are able to be pulled out about that much, as you can see, and they're able to close down about that much. Anyways, so you do get double jointed knees, as you get to see, and you do end up getting to see that on the ankle also ends up having the same articulation that you get on the hand, which kind of gives you a bit of an ankle pivot if you're able to move it around and stuff. So that's what's actually pretty cool. Again, just by moving it, you can actually move it up and down. You have to really be able to move around with the positioning and everything, because you have to toy around with the positioning because it can get a little bit finicky. Also, right here on the toe articulation, it is pretty cool. A lot of collectors are actually complaining that the toe articulation is a little bit too centered and it's not where it should be, but it really doesn't matter considering that the kind of figure that it is. So it's actually pretty cool. The best part about this figure is that when you end up looking at it up here, these little flaps are actually connected on over to the upper part, so they don't hinder the movement at all. And this cape, I gotta tell you guys, this cape is just amazing. This cape, God, I love this cape. It ends up having bendy wire right here. It's actually pretty cool. So you're able to, just pose it up, if you want it opened up, that's good. If you want it closed down, then that's even better. Now, I will say this cape, I did have to modify it, but not by a lot. The cape was actually a little bit more lighter gray. You can actually see it by the bottom right here. So it was more of a denim gray kind of a material, and that's the one thing that all collectors were actually complaining about. But you know what? Stop complaining. You're actually getting a figure at a very cheap price that is real good in detail and everything. I mean, I just gotta say that it's a very beautiful figure. So what I did is that I customized it in the sense that I actually got black shoe polish, and I just dabbed all around it. Just went to town, and you know what? It actually looks real good right now. So, you know what? Problem solved. It looks awesome, and you know what? Again, like I said, it's a very beautiful figure. I love it, and it's very nice. Honestly, I just love how it came on out. The again, the paint job is actually real good. It's real nice. I love how that it ends up having this beaten down look onto it from like with scrapes and cuts all over on the armor, and it's actually pretty good. I really wish that they would have actually given it more of a black wash onto these things, a black finish. A little bit of a dry brush effect onto it. It would have actually made this figure perfect. But either way, I can't complain about it because it is cool. Anyways, size comparison time. Here he is standing next to the Mezco 112 Batman. The Mezco 112 BvS Batman. And as you can see, the size difference, it's really not all that much if you're able to stand them up real well. I will say that this one does look a lot more stockier than this guy. He does look a lot more big and more buffed up than this guy. That's probably because it's just from two different companies, and well, I mean, from comparisons and all that stuff, you just can't compare. These figures are actually coming out to be more Hot Toy-esque, and this one is just basically a very, very good collector size. Now, I will tell you this, because Mezco has decided not to re-release their SDCC exclusive Batman, which we would have actually been fine of getting the one with the plastic parts, where the SDCC one ended up having the die-cast metal pieces on a lot of these. We would have actually been happy with getting a plastic part. They decided not to, making this one the de facto figure, bar none. It is a default best figure out of the Armored Batman that we're actually going to get it on a 1/12 scale. For mass, release for the masses, obviously there's a lot of people that were actually able to get the the SDCC Batman, but if you really want to get one right now, those things are actually going for like about $300 to $400, and that is way too much to pay for a small 1/12 scale figure. So for me personally, this thing actually became the de facto 1/12 scale figure, and it's not. You can kind of say that it's a 1/12 scale because it does fit in scale with these guys. But anyways, rambling on. And now we will compare it to the Mezco 1/12 very first release, Dark Knight Returns Batman. And this one is a previous exclusive one. They did end up releasing a whole buttload of those, but I'll get into that detail when I am reviewing this one. Anyways, it is pretty cool. This one isn't necessarily a 1/12 scale, even though they did end up putting it like that. History about that is a Shane Mesmer just basically wanted to make this one as a love for the material, and just ended up making this one. So the scaling is a little bit off, and you do get to see that with the rest of the 1/12 scale figures. Just to give you more or less a bit of a size comparison, to illustrate my point. Here you get to see the differences in the scale, and as I said, this guy's looking a little bit too big, but, when you end up putting this guy right there, it doesn't necessarily... Again, like I said, if you put him next to these guys and this guy, then he's really not that bad looking. He's actually pretty good. And the camera right now is actually putting it in an angle where this figure actually looks a lot more bigger than this one. Like I said, these two are more or less about the same size, so you don't necessarily have to worry about that. Where you will get the differences in the body proportions and everything. But other than that, these end up fitting real well. And this one just not so much. But again, like I said, this one was the very first release out of Mezco, and I guess that they weren't actually thinking about making any more like that. But it really doesn't necessarily matter. It's still all in all a good figure nonetheless. And they do look good together. And anyways, for the final, actually the final two comparisons, we will compare it with the NECA 7-inch 1989 Toys R Us exclusive Batman. Now, this one can actually be considered a 1/12 scale, more or less, because he is about the same size. He's about 7 inches. So he is a little bit taller, but at the same time, because we have not gotten any 1/12 scale figure, deluxe edition or anything like that, this one does end up becoming more or less the de facto 1/12 Batman 1989 figure until Mezco decides to actually release this one, which they have actually hinted, and they have teased, and damn it, Mezco, release my Batman. All right, I want my 1989 Batman like this. All right, it doesn't matter, or at least Mafex, come on. That would be kind of cool. Anyway, so you do get to see that it does look good right there in size comparisons. And then after that, finally we get to see the DC Icons first release 01 Superman. And like I said, it does look good. Honestly, these proportions I'm actually a lot more happy with. I really do believe that Batman should actually be a little bit more taller than Superman, because of he has to be an imposing figure, and where Superman ends up having all the powers in the world, Batman can actually be very imposing physically and very scary. But oh no, you do get to see that it looks pretty cool. So all in all, I do end up believing that this figure is actually worth it. I do end up liking how that it looks. A little bit of a history about this thing, though. I know that you guys are actually seeing the gun and just saying, well, wait a minute, how come you didn't mention the gun? This, the kryptonite grenade launching gun. And the whole reason why was because it didn't come with this packaging. It actually came with the standard release Batman, not the armored one, the standard release Batman. And for some sad reasons, I wasn't actually able to put them in a review because I don't have them anymore. But I did keep this grenade launcher, and I just figured, you know what, it actually does look a lot more better on this Batman. especially, you know, given the circumstances from the movie. It does look cool. I do love this figure. Like I said, I mean, it's real cool. And until I can actually get my hands on a Mezco 112 Armored Batman, I will not change my opinion as to which is the better Batman figure. I do end up believing that the prices for the other one is just way too much. I will not pay $400 for a figure that is not even in the same height as Mezco. And oh no, it does end up looking cool. I do end up loving how he ends up looking right here with the stand, with the flight stand. As you get to see, the flight stand is actually holding real well the figure, and the figure is not light. You know, well, it is light in comparison to like let's say 112 Dark Knight Returns Batman, but like I said, it is a very nice figure. I love it. It's real nice, and honestly, you can't necessarily ask for more, except for like if it only would have actually had the light up eyes that Mezco ended up making with their release. But other than that, the detailing and everything is just right there. And like I said, it looks pretty real cool. And I really don't see any complaints that I can actually give. No, this figure has actually been given a lot of bad a lot of bad reviews, and I don't necessarily think that is justifiable. You know, of course, people are actually going to feel some biasness because, you know, from the 112th line of Mezco coming from something like that on over to something like this, obviously they're actually going to feel like, oh, well, Mezco's a superior figure. But you know what? I can't complain about this one. You even get to see that it does end up having more or less the likeness of Ben Affleck from the lower face. It does look good, and like I said, it's a real nice figure. I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. The same thing goes with the movie. I enjoyed it a lot. You know, there were some sketchy parts. I didn't necessarily like how it is that Lex Luthor was actually used or anything like that. Just felt more like a Joker. But nevertheless, for this figure, I love it. It's nice. What can I say? It's a pretty cool figure. So would I recommend this figure? Definitely. It is actually real good. It does end up having a lot of values. It is aesthetically pleasing to the eyes, and more importantly, it is very cheap. I mean, you can actually go on over to, let's say, you could go on over to eBay and actually find one for like about $29.99, maybe even 30, around there. And you could also end up finding one for, I know that Amazon would actually, shit, damn it. I know that Amazon would actually end up having one, end up having these figures for like about $39.99, but I do end up saying that for the amount of, because it doesn't come with a lot of accessories, I wouldn't necessarily recommend paying about $40 to $50 over these figures. I would actually recommend you to pay around $29.99 to something around there. And you know, like I said, if you do end up buying it, the cape would be one thing that you would actually want to modify. And then, like I said, what I did was just end up getting some basic black shoe polish, the liquid one, and I just dabbed all over the place, and it actually came out looking pretty good. Love how is it that it, man, love how is it that it came on out. And like I said, I love this figure. So anyways, I do recommend them, and stay on up, you guys. And like I said, go ahead and get one out of these. It's actually worth it. Anyways, this is Klutzy Joe signing off, and I hope that you guys actually enjoyed the review. Bye-bye. Do you bleed? What was that? No, nothing, man. It's cool. That's what the hell I thought. You will. That wasn't even part of your line of the movie. Sucks. Whatever. Anyways, hope you guys actually enjoyed this review.